Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Halo 5 Legendary Lone Wolf video walkthrough. This is mission 12, the Battle of Sunaion, or something along those lines. It's a weird, like, C word. I say C word, S word, but you get what I mean. It's some fancy Covenant world thing. And I think this world is absolutely beautiful to look at, but wonderfully boring to play. It is such a cookie-cutter stage, it's not even funny. But visually, it's kind of like Naboo from Episode 1, and a little bit like Lando Calrissian's Cloud Palace play. Those are the two things that I get vibes of from this place, and I really like it. By the way, if you die on this door opening and get bum rushed by the dudes inside, you'll go back to the very beginning of the level. I found that out the hard way. Because it's just, I was trying to rush the door and I was literally kissing the door and I got killed. So it just goes to show. So I try and do a charge move, but aiming it in mid-air is not the easiest thing to do unless you have a really good jump arc. And then you kill a couple of grunts and then you can continue pushing forward. So a viewer or subscriber or just a cool dude on one of the videos has mentioned a fantastic thing to me that I need to share, and I wish I'd been able to share this earlier because it's going to completely change the dynamic of this game. The troop commands that you can give to your fellow Spartans are not very good, I don't think. However, one of them is, you can tell your team to pick up guns, and that will break the game, guys. It was something you could do in the old Halo games, and it was incredibly powerful, and you can do it in this. I said earlier on in this walkthrough that you couldn't because I hadn't found it, but he told me that you can. And you need to do this, folks, because it's going to make every single part I'm going to say that's difficult considerably easier. Whenever you pick up a power weapon, any power weapon, doesn't matter what it is, railgun, incineration cannon, rocket launcher, sniper rifle, fuel rod, whatever, once you've used a decent amount of it, but it still has ammo, give it to your team member by, I think he said, picking up a gun and dropping it, and then commanding people while looking at the gun, and they'll come and pick it up. I think it's something like that. I'm not 100% certain, guys, so just figure it out. I'm sure it's not too difficult. I just never tried. And do that. Give your team power weapons. Then when you say focus fire, at least when they do decide to shoot, they're going to destroy things. And I mean really destroy things. And what I would do, because this is more than possible, on the on mission 14, on the final push before the final boss, who's a massive dickhead, give every single person an incineration cannon. If they all have that big cannon, I think that section will be a lot easier. I did it with one. Just imagine having 5 or 4 or however many you can get. Like, I don't know if you can make them pick up turrets, but I carried 5 turrets to the final boss, and because the checkpoint was horrendous, I gave up on them. But if it had not been, I would have totally had 5 turrets in that room. And if you can give your team those turrets, goodness gracious me, that could be beautiful. You need to test this out, folks, because it could really save your life. And what do you lose if it doesn't? A couple of minutes? Doesn't matter, does it? Definitely try that strategy. It's going to really help. And there are some tough moments in this game. Like right now, my entire team could have better guns, and I just didn't realise it was a thing. And I probably wouldn't have rushed this level as much as I do, because there are sections in here where there are so many enemies to kill, I was like, fuck this. And I jump, and I boost, and I run past most of the areas and trip checkpoints, and it works wonderfully, but it sucks because I think this level looks beautiful. I just wish it wasn't such a cluster mess of enemies. Like, it is gauntlet after gauntlet after gauntlet. You feel like you're playing Gauntlet. And there's nothing in between it. Nothing at all. There's no vehicles, there's no exposition dumps, there's no platforming, there is literally nothing. Like this right now, the gun I just picked up, I could give it to somebody, I could give it to Buck, make Buck useful. It's a sniper rifle, it's a great weapon. You know? Sniping dudes. This thing will one-shot you if you get hit right. Very powerful. And it takes 2 shots to generally kill an elite if you hit him in the face, which I disagree with immensely, but that's the game. And all we're doing now is destroying turrets. You have to go around destroying these anti-air turrets, and every time you destroy one, you pretty much get a checkpoint. You do not have to clear the enemies out. I don't think I'm hitting that, Chris. I don't see the hit marker. And if you're wondering why I refer to myself in the third person, it's a nasty habit I've got. I'm not the biggest fan of it, it just kind of happens. I don't know where it came from, I couldn't honestly tell you. I think it's such a douchey thing to do. I don't do it in actual speak, but I do it when I do these. Because if I did it in actual speak, I would give my friends permission to punch me in the face. Because there's nothing worse than that. It's like smelling your own farts. We all do it, but you don't need a wine glass. So in here we've got, is it the storm rifle? Why does this weapon exist? Who uses this gun? If I was a Covenant trooper, and on boot camp, like day one, war broke out, and I got sent to the front line with this piece of shit gun, I think I'd just go AWOL and run away. Because I wouldn't want to use it. You know, you see everybody else with carbines and they give you this bag of dicks. Like, do you want me to die? Is that what this is? It's a horrible weapon. It is so bad. But there's your checkpoint, guys. Keep pushing forward. I love this level visually. I hate to play it. And here is the next turret. So, I do some sniper. There's another checkpoint just in case that last 5 yards was too tricky for you. Keep on shooting. And there goes the turret. See if there is a checkpoint. There was the checkpoint. Another one, just in case that last 5 seconds was too tricky for you. And then here is another one that we have to take out. So you'll notice that we've pushed through this level pretty quickly, focusing on the turrets. This is the easy part. The tricky part's coming up when we have to go past some kind of dodgy moments. And then, of course, there's another boss fight at the end against the Warden. So just when you thought you weren't going to have to fight that dude again, he turns up again. Because that's what he does. They have one move in this game. It's fight the Warden. Fight the Warden, fight the Warden. And it sucks, dude. It really does. I think Halo could do boss fights really well. I know it hasn't really ever done that in the past, but I came from a generation of first-person shooters that had boss fights. They weren't always brilliant, but they were always prevalent. And I miss that. I think we've lost that somewhere. There was kind of a meeting, there was a mass email sent out that went in my spam folder, and it got flagged as junk and I never saw it, where everybody agreed that we don't like boss fights, and I love boss fights. A boss fight is the best way to break up any kind of sequence. You've been doing combat against the generic dudes for too long, here comes a boss. One guy, different pattern, different strategy, different way of playing. It's a great way to mix your game up, and it's a challenge. It is a legitimate challenge. A boss, to me, is the closest you can get to PvP against a human in a single-player game. Because you're up against somebody just as capable of you as you, just as tough as you, and you have to overcome them. And that's why they're special. Because you don't get that every time with the enemies. The whole point of certain enemies is so that you can shit on them and feel better about yourself. That's the definition of a popcorn enemy, like that jackal just then. He jumped up, I shot him in the face, and he's gone. He exists to make you feel better about your gun skill, because he's easy to kill. He can do damage, and he can serve a purpose elsewhere, but his main existence is to be fodder for you. And the Warden isn't. You'll notice he takes more than one headshot. I wish he didn't. I wish he could take his sword and shove it up his ass. That'd be great. But you can't, I don't think. Unless that's like some kind of crazy version. A patch coming. Omega mode for Halo 5. That would be great. And Darkside Phil made a really funny point, which I know it's rare, but he occasionally does, about the beginning of this game, where it's showing you those fancy cutscenes where all the Spartans are like shotgunning one elite and stabbing another one under the jaw and pirouetting and doing all these crazy agile moves that you literally cannot do in the game. And he was poking fun at that, and it's so true. Like, as much as I think that cutscene's great, because I think the choreography on it's really nice, it's dumb. It's so wonderfully done because you cannot do any of those things. Like, even the assassinations are nowhere near as fancy as the shit they do in that cutscene. And they make you look like a monster, just an absolute monster. And then you run up to an elite and you start trying to do fancy shit and he just punches you and you die. It's so great. It's the reality versus the dream, you know what I mean? It's that beautiful image of, you know, what I think I look like and what I actually look like. I love that. And all I'm doing right now, guys, is I'm kind of thinning out numbers, waiting for checkpoints, and I'm going to be pushing forward. But I appreciate it's dangerous, and I have died at this point maybe once or twice, because I got flanked. That's why I'm coming over here, that's why I'm being paranoid. But I think it's out now today, Halo 5, which is great news for the people who haven't been able to pick it up early. If you're wondering how I got it early, there's a guy who runs a game shop in another town in my area, who I learnt about. Went up to him when I wanted to try and get Bloodborne early, and I asked him, you know, straight to his face, like, how are you with street dates? And he's just like, don't like them. and I just fell in love with the man in that moment. And unfortunately, he got Bloodborne quite late, so I ended up getting it off of the American marketplace. But Metal Gear Solid 5, I managed to get the Saturday before the Tuesday release. So I got that really early, thanks to him, which was awesome. And I managed to pick this game up, again, on the Saturday previous to the Tuesday release, which is really, really, really useful. In fact, in my country, I don't know if it's universal, this might even come out on Friday, which would suck dick. But I think it's Tuesday. So that's how I managed to pick it up, and I'm hoping that he gets Black Ops 3 early. I'm really hoping, because there's a new difficulty on that game that might make that actually a really successful walkthrough, and if I can get that game early, it helps me hopefully succeed. And I'm not very good at YouTube, guys, I'm just not, you know? I haven't had luck. Come December, I'll have been doing this for 5 years, and judging by my numbers and my results, you wouldn't really think I had been. There are people that are way better at the YouTube game than me, and I need every help I can get, basically. So if I can get these games early, that's wonderful, but I need to get bigger, ideally, so that I can get those press copies that everybody got. Because people had this game, and Assassin's Creed, 2.5 weeks before the game came out. And oh, by the way, these Covenant are friendly. You'll notice I just plasma pistoled one. Yeah, he's friendly. I apologise to him, you know. You didn't hear it, but he did, I hope. So come over here to here, press the button, pick up the turret, and I don't recommend really using this turret, but I have this thing. When I see a turret, I want to take it with me. I feel like it's going to give me an advantage, and for a lot of the times it never does. But it's a fun feeling. But I am hoping to get that early if I can. If I can get Tomb Raider early and Fallout 4 early, that'll be fantastic too, because those are the last 2 games of the massive, you know, crazy season of games in November. Once I've covered those, the channel goes back to normal, and my sleep schedule can recover, and I can, you know, live again. Because at the moment, it's really hectic, and I make it sound, don't I, like I'm some kind of slave, which is ridiculous, because I'm absolutely loving it. Don't even think of it in any other way. I might complain, I might feel tired, my throat might feel like it's been savagely raped by some kind of demon horse, but there's an enjoyment to it, and I really like it. It sucks that I don't see my girlfriend as much as I would like, but at the moment she's working, so I'm not seeing her as much as I would like anyway, so it kind of balances. And it's just that thing of, it's tough, and some people will never translate why. But trust me, guys, it's an interesting experience, and I would love to share it with you, but my internet's just not good enough. However, I am working on that. It's just taking way longer than it should, for several stupid reasons, but I'll keep you posted. And I am going to have an opportunity to stream coming up, even though it's going to be on shitty internet, so it's going to be terrible visual quality, terrible audio quality. But it's still a stream, and you get to interact. And it'll probably be me doing miscellaneous things, you know, clean up on games that I've been playing some Transformers Devastation, playing some Assassin's Creed, and maybe even playing some Halo, playing a lot of Street Fighter, hopefully, because I'm really digging Street Fighter 4 at the moment. This particular sequence right now, I'm going to clean out some enemies, and then I'm going to be pushing behind them to try and get past them. I went in there to try and pick up some ammo, but I couldn't see any, and it didn't really work. I also mentioned on Twitter that there is a way to play the Street Fighter V beta offline that people have been mentioning, and I was looking into it last night. Apparently you have to get a Skid Row torrent, I think it is, with a crack, which technically illegal, so be careful doing that. But once you've done that, and if you modify some files, you can go in practice mode with all the characters and you can play the beta. And I was hoping to do exactly that and bring some footage and what have you. But when I got the file and I ran it, straight up wouldn't open. It kept giving me this error message, and when I searched for this error message to see if anybody else had had it, to find a way to get past it, nobody else seemed to have had it. So I'm probably going to have another go at trying to figure that out, but I'm never good at that type of shit. And because I am really busy at the moment, and when I'm not sleeping I'm talking on these bloody videos or recording more of the damn things, I don't have a lot of time to mess with it. But we'll see, because I am really stoked to play Street Fighter V, even though I'm not that stoked. Oh, that's pretty funny. If you run at the doors, sometimes, the detection is a little bit off and it doesn't break them. Even if you do the Spartan charge, which is that charge move. So, if you're ever having issue, it's just detection. It's not bad at all. That's twice in the entire game where that's happened to me. And I think the first time it happened, I wasn't getting a full sprint. Like, I might have not been doing it on that one, but this is when we're going to start pushing, guys, because I don't know if you've noticed, but every single time we push forward, there's just a million fucking dudes to shoot. And this is where I was really like, is this exactly how we want to be doing this game, really? And normally I'm not the biggest advocate for skipping sections in games unless it's a tough section or you really notice what you're doing, because a game, to me, is essentially a masterful show of smoke and mirrors. It is an adventure in self-deception. I don't want to feel like I'm playing a game. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but what I mean is I don't want to feel like I acknowledge and I notice I'm playing a game. I want the game to be natural. I want it to feel like an extension of myself. And I have incredibly high standards for this, which is why I critique a lot of games in very peculiar and specific ways to certain people. And the moment I notice what I'm doing is the moment that something breaks down for me personally. And it's nothing to do with immersion, it's just feeling like I don't have to think about what I'm doing, I just get to react. It's that mechanical gameplay perspective that I love to get into. It's a mindset of, it's truly awesome. And a lot of games give me that because they play flawlessly. And once you've learnt the mechanics, you never have to think about them because it's just a case of you respond, you react, you go with it. And in a lot of ways, most games can get to that point, but every so often something will happen that just takes you out of it. Like, completely takes you out of it. And that's one of those things. Because I feel that I should want to fight. You know, you should have elegantly designed something that leaves me wanting more. That doesn't leave me wishing there was less. And I think that that is essentially the responsibility of the event scripter, you know, the level designer person who essentially is the person who makes sure that there's enough enemies in a section, where the enemies come from and what enemies they are and how they move and where and what they do and things. Like, whoever it is who is in charge of saying that there should be 4 elites here and 4 grunts, and then when you kill the 2 elites 2 more turn up and then a banshee turns up, the person who decides that, or the team that does that point, I think they really misfired in a lot of areas of this game. And they're not alone. Like, most games do this. And it just becomes a sequence that you remember for maybe not the best reasons, or maybe you're the person who really loves that. Because, of course, it's not objectively bad. It's not, you know, just straight up empirical evidence that this is designed not great. Because it's not true. It's just certain expectations and certain personalities will want certain things. And I noticed this immediately when I was watching Darkside Phil play. And a lot of people ask me, Chris, why do you watch Darkside Phil? It's obvious, I would think. I find him incredibly funny, but not when he's trying to be funny. It's generally the moments when he's being serious where I laugh the most. Because you see, Phil is a very unique type of person. He was brought up by parents who essentially conditioned into him that he is flawless. He is infallible. And I heard him even say this, right? Which is where I realised that it's not Phil's fault. He is the way he is. He is a product of his parents. Because his mother, get this, is never wrong. She's never to blame. She's never at fault. Never. So I wonder where he fucking gets that shit from. And there's your answer. And I thought it was just a wonderful piece of enlightening information. But he's consistent is another reason that I like to watch him. He is consistent. Some might say consistently bad. I would say consistent. So whenever I'm doing something and I want some background noise and I'm out of movies or I'm out of TV shows or no one's streaming or I just don't have anything for background noise, he is a wonderful distraction. Because for the most you can completely tune him out. And then when the funny parts happen you can pay attention and laugh. And then do whatever you're doing. So that's one of the reasons why. But at the same time, I respect the guy because he gets a lot of shit. And a lot of it is 100% warranted, but some of it isn't. And he's been getting shit for so long, like how can it not affect you? It's pretty crazy when you think about it. Like, I get an angry message or a hateful message, maybe, you know, one a day, maybe not, sometimes more than that. It all depends. It's a fluctuating scheme. Now imagine he gets more hateful messages than I get messages. Like, I might average somewhere between like 50 comments a day. If it's quieter, it'll be a bit less. If it's more heavy, it'll be a bit more. He gets thousands a day, and most of them will be negative. Like, there'll be a bunch that are positive, but there'll be the majority negative, because if you look on his videos and his streams, like, his live streams get immediately like 1,500 dislikes. That's 1,500 people that just want to dislike him. And that's a base value. 1,500 people. This video might not get 1,500 views. And that dude's got 1,500 people who don't even like him. Which is crazy. Absolutely crazy, because he doesn't get paid off the ads, guys. So when you view his videos, you're actually paying him. So the people who hate him and want him to fail, you shouldn't watch it. You really shouldn't. It's funny, isn't it, when you say, if you don't want to support it, don't watch it. But his haters at this point are essentially his fans, because they're the ones keeping him alive. And I find that absolutely baffling, that all they say is they want him to crash and burn and they want him to fail and go away, yet they're facilitating him staying there. His consistency is, by part, thanks to them. And there's that wonderful meme, isn't there, on the internet, where there's a sound file of him going, "Thank you, you worthless humans, for the views." But it's true. Not the worthless humans part, although there are worthless humans, but not all of them. But I just find it really funny. But when I was watching Phil play, anyhow, back to the topic, he got to the gauntlet at the end of the second level, blue team, where you have to defend and wait for the shuttle to fuel. And all the way up to that point, he'd run past enemies. And he then went on to mock the game, saying that it's designed really badly. I'm paraphrasing here, it wasn't his exact words, because he could just run past the enemies. There was no real need to fight them. And then at the end, when you couldn't run past them and it was a big gauntlet of enemies, he complained that there was a gauntlet of enemies. So it was this wonderful dichotomy of, he was complaining both ways. And if you watch that stream, I don't know if you did, I found it very difficult to watch, because not only does Phil try and use a shotgun at max range against Jackal's shields, but he wasn't enjoying it at all, and you could really tell. And this is a dude who plays games for his job, but doesn't really enjoy it a lot, and you can really tell. This is a person who, when he stops working, he doesn't play games. Like, he will stream the games and record the games, and that's all the games he'll play that day, and he doesn't play them. Like, and that, to me, that's not a gamer. I don't care if you think you are, like, the fucking bee's knees of gamers, but if you don't want to do it when you don't have to, that to me isn't somebody who loves video games. Like, the video game lovers that I know and are friends with are the people who, if they have a choice to do anything, that's their first choice. And a lot of people think that that's sad, and those people are generally very ignorant, I find, because there's too much hate and bullshit in this world to deny the things you love. And just because you don't understand what someone else loves doesn't mean it's bad. And you want to spend less energy being a dickhead and use that energy to find what you love and enjoy it, because you could die tomorrow. We all could. Like, there will probably come a time, I might be on YouTube, I might not be on YouTube, where this channel stops producing videos and I got struck by fucking lightning. You know, you never know when it's going to happen, so you want to do what you enjoy. You don't want to burn your life, you know, effectively burying yourself in things that you don't love. And that is a philosophy to live by, I think. And Phil just, at times, like he even said at the end of the video, you know, I've had a really good time and this and that, and he didn't. And then on Twitter, he's leaving all this stuff about how he thinks that the game looks great and it runs great, but it's really underwhelming, and it's, you know, it's terrible in points. Like, I just don't understand it. I think it's like inherently dishonest. Like, if I don't like something, you generally know because I'll shit on it. I'll do a reshit, as a term I heard the other day, which made me laugh, which was in the comment section on a Gutex video, because apparently he was playing, is it Rashid, on the Street Fighter V beta, and he was beating up all the new players because they couldn't block and they were being too aggressive, and of course he's a vet. And instead of saying, you know, Rashid, they were saying he took a reshit on people, which I thought was a nice piece of wordplay. But Phil did notice areas of the games, in all his flaws, that he thought had too many enemies, even though in the sections that didn't, which are much more finessefully designed, he's just skipped them. So it's that weird thing of Phil noticed it, and Phil barely notices anything, which is what I found out when the frame rate was consistent. Because if the frame rate dips, he's the first person to mention it. But if it's consistent, he doesn't mention it. And I find that that's a little bit unfair to the games, because he's so strict on weak frame rate, yet he doesn't compliment good frame rate. Like, I'd never heard him say it once, and I found that really baffling. But that's enough about Darkside Phil. If you don't know who that person is, You will find him if you insert DSP into the search engine. Unfortunately, you will find, you know, some of his less choice moments, you could say. This is a man who's made some very bad decisions in his life, and most of them are public and on the internet. Yeah, it's kind of rough, but you know, some people like him because he's got 170,000 subscribers, which is a shit ton more than I have. He gets more views than I have, he gets more likes than I do, he gets more people on his streams than I do, so he's doing something right, and even if you hate him, you've got to respect it. But this is an interesting sequence here, because it's quite a big area that's populated with enemies, but it doesn't feel like they're just force-feeding you the enemies. It's not enemies for enemies' sake. This is a bit of a battle here, and I quite enjoyed this moment. It's going to suck a little bit, because later on the Warden's going to show up, and then it's going to get a little bit tougher, but I have a fantastic cheesy strategy for you. And if you're lucky, Arbiter will do a lot of damage with his energy sword. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but he's got like an orange lightsaber. He's one of the new Star Wars people, and he's actually really good. He runs up to them and he hits them with his sword, and because he's armoured and he's a Covenant, he's quite tanky, I think, so he's pretty good. But there he is, Keith David, kicking ass, doing his thing. You know, beating up Roddy Piper, rest in peace, dude. But we're once again on that really eventful moment of trying to find a gun. I think the Warden's here. Is he here? It sounded like he fired something.
All that matters is the Guardian hasn't left yet.
No, I don't think he's here yet. Sounded like that negative energy ball, though, to me through the headset just then. But there's a lot of dudes, and I'm really wondering right now, do you think if the game gave you more ammo, you would be less likely to notice how many people you have to kill because you wouldn't be forced to use weapons that don't kill things quickly? I wonder if that would change things. I wonder if there's a skull that gives you more ammo. That'd be a really good skull. Like, the skulls at this point are a novelty, aren't they? There's something to annoy more than anything. Punch an enemy to get your shield back. What a wonderful idea that one was. Good God. Like, no checkpoint respawns or whatever it is. Like, level die bullshit. Straight up back at the level. Hardcore mode engaged. Horrible, horrible skull. And then the other ones, what are they? Enemies throw more grenades, I think it's one of them. All kinds of mad stuff. I like the grenade one though, I think that's funny. But I always felt that the skulls were a great idea. But they weren't. They never progressed. You know, they never evolved. They just keep releasing the same skulls. And I would have liked more. Can you imagine if at this point we had like 200 skulls? That would be the shit. Replace every enemy with a tank. You know, something super dumb. Oh, that's the type of stuff I'd love to see. Like, it'd be cool if you could get the teleport that the Prometheans do. Can you imagine if you could teleport 3 times in a row, super quick like they do? That would be very cool. But there is a checkpoint, guys. And from this vantage point with my fuel rod, I'm going to be getting rid of the heavy gunners. And then from this same vantage point, we're going to be getting rid of the Warden. And this is pretty much the 11th hour of the level. And then we're going to be moving on to, I believe it's called, is it Guardian, the next mission? It's an interesting one. It has a tank sequence, I think. But we're not quite there yet, so we're going to do some shooting. Kick some people in the nuts. Do the standard Halo fare. God, I hate those dogs so much. Really do. Is it a bolt shot, this gun? I wonder if it's any good in the multiplayer, this gun, because I remember on Halo 4 people just used that one-shot kill method it had, and I think people hated it. Not quite as much as they hated the automatic pistol from Titanfall, which I never found to be that ridiculous when I watched that game. Never played it, unfortunately. Titanfall looks like a game that I could get very good at, but it's a game I never played. If it had had a campaign, I would have bought it, but, you know, games are going towards now where they don't have them, and I find that really saddening because I came from a generation of games that didn't have that much multiplayer, and when they did have multiplayer it was local, and now we're seeing this advent of games that don't even have local multiplayer. This is the first Halo game, I think, that doesn't have local multiplayer. To me that's baffling. Like, even when I hated Halo and I thought it was a piece of shit, I was playing split screen campaign on Legendary with Aiden. Like, I'll always remember going through the library on the first Halo, just thinking, like, why do anybody like this game? It's just I'm getting attacked by these fucking mongoloid monsters that one-shot me, or two-shot me, or however fast they killed you. They killed you really fast. But I've got a Needler and I've got a Storm Rifle. Two guns that I really wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Or would I? Because then I might survive. But then I found a Carbine and it's all good again. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to clip on this spot here and I'm going to shoot the boss in the face. And it's literally a product for success. I'm going to get rid of the repairman thing because that will heal things. And I have no doubt that it can heal the boss. I've seen it heal a knight, it can probably heal the boss. But there's a Warzone multiplayer mode on this game where apparently they populate the battle with enemies and bosses and stuff, which is a really cool idea. And I wonder if there's going to be a Warden on that mode. Because the Warden, he means business. He's going to do some serious killing. And just the idea of 2 4-man teams on opposing sides having like a joint objective with passive enemies in it, I think it's a great evolution of, you know, an archetypal multiplayer mode. Because Halo had Horde for the longest time, but it was called Firefight, wasn't it, on ODST? And then they kind of dropped it. I wonder what that was about. Just no more Firefight. And I don't think it was the best of that kind of mode. In fact, I thought it was really inferior to Horde mode in many ways. But it was an opportunity to play the game with your friends. And, you know, just do the whole survival Left 4 Dead, you know, final area thing. And I still think to this day, Left 4 Dead did it best. Left 4 Dead 1, that is. I hated Left 4 Dead 2. There's the negative energy. Don't let it touch you, and keep shooting him in the face. And a lot of people get almost offended when I mention that I don't like Left 4 Dead 2, but I thought it ruined everything that was good about the first game. Like, the stamina on the punch? Fuck you, dude. Just fuck you. It wasn't as good. The guns looked too big on the screen as well, that really annoyed me. The melee weapons were fine, and I didn't mind the new versions of the Infected, the new specials, but I will never forget my time with Left 4 Dead 1, because it was some of the best times I've had in gaming. Doing those campaigns on, was it Expert? Some of the dumbest shit you've ever had to do, but a real sense of camaraderie and a real sense of fear. Because when that tank turns up, you better hope you've got a good spot. But thank you very much for watching, and you take care now.